Okay, so let's start with our first project. Let's launch Xcode, and we are going to create a new AR project. So a new Xcode project, select augmented reality app, click next, and we are going to call this one shapes. Make sure you've got Swift and SceneKit selected, click next, and I'm going to save this on my desktop. Okay, so the app is created. Let's just run the app directly to see what it looks like. Okay, there we go. So the app is launched, and as you can see, we have a spaceship right here, right in front of us, and you can look around in augmented reality. Cool. Okay, so this works. Let's now have a look in our view controller and see what this is made of. So first of all, we have a scene view, so an AR scene view, which is here in the view controller. We have this scene view here, and as you can see, it's linked. So I've clicked here, it's linked to our view controller. So let's go back in there. This scene has a delegate, which is this view controller, and we assigned this delegate for the scene view to ourselves. Okay. Then we have some statistics that we are showing. This is a completely optional line of code, so I'm just going to delete that for now. Let's just remove those comments as well. So you see here we are creating a scene, an SCN scene, so SceneKit, and not ARKit, but SceneKit, SCN, which is named, so it's in this directory here, the SCN assets here, and it's called ship. So let's go and have a look there quickly. We have a ship.scn. If you tap or click, you will see that we have our spaceship here. And you can look around the ship. Then if we go back to the view controller, we can see that lastly we assign that scene to the scene view. Cool. So let's get rid of those as well. And that's basically those 3 lines of code that you need to keep in the view load. Okay, so then in the view will appear, you can see that we create a configuration. So it's an AR world tracking configuration, and we say that the session, the AR session of the scene view will run this configuration, which will track objects in place in augmented reality. Cool, so once again we can delete the extra fluff and keep only those 2 lines of code, which is all we need. Then in view will disappear. We pause the session because an AR tracking, so a world tracking configuration, takes a lot of power, and we don't want to use the phone's battery if we don't really need it, which this is all we're doing in here. Cool, so after that we can actually delete everything. Make sure you've got the last little bracket here, the curly bracket, to close our view controller's class. Cool, so look, this is actually all we need to run our project, and we're not going to write any more code in this lecture. What we're going to do though is that we are going to replace this ship with our shapes. So if you look here on, so yeah, let's just get rid of that. Whoa, that was trippy. And here you can click on this to show the scene graph. If we open the scene graph, we can see our ship mesh. In the ship mesh, we have an emitter. Cool. So click on the ship mesh, or even actually let's just click on the ship and remove it completely. Now what we're going to do is to look for a box and just drag a box inside of the scene. Then we'll do the same with a sphere. Doesn't matter where you put them for now. And the same with a pyramid. Okay. Right, so we can't see much at all because everything, the background is white, the shapes are white, and there are no lights in here, which means there's no shadows created from the 3D shapes. So the first thing we can do, just to have a better understanding of where the shapes are, is go to those little mountains there, so the scene inspector. Actually, click on any of those first. And the background here, we can apply a procedural sky. So click on that, and you can see how, so if I zoom out and drag around, you can see how we have now something that looks like a sky. So it just helps to understand a little bit better if you're upside down like this or not, basically. Now, our shapes are inside each other, and it doesn't really look great. They're actually too big as well, so we'll have to resize them. So first of all, if you select the sphere, you can drag it with the red axis here. So drag it a little bit on the right for now. And here in the attributes inspector, we can see that it's got a radius of 1. So this would be 1 meter in real life, which means that the diameter of this sphere is 2 meters, which is huge. So what I'm going to do is select 0.15. So I'm changing this radius to make the sphere pretty much a 30 centimeter ball. Let's do the same with the cube. So the cube here is it's a 1 meter cube, so 1 by 1 by 1. So same again here, I'm going to do 0.2, 0.2, and 0.2. So now we have a 20 centimeter cube. And here on the side we have our pyramid, and I'm going to do exactly the same again. So 0.2, so 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters. Cool. So now we can understand a little bit better where the shapes are. And that's good, we're making good progress. One thing I want to show you is how to move them. So you can see I have 3 axes, so X, Y, and Z. If you drag the shape with any of those axes, so it will go in one direction. If you select the arc like this, it will move in 2 different directions at the same time. And if you select only the edge of the arc, it's going to rotate your shape like that. Okay, so this obviously is not very accurate. It just gives us a quick way of moving and dragging our object. But obviously, if we want to be a bit more accurate about this, so you can see how, yeah, that doesn't look like at all what I want. So what I can do is to select the box, for example, and go here in the node inspector and change the position by just typing some numbers in here. So X, the X position is going to be minus 0.5, so 50 centimeter on the left. The Y position is going to be 0. I don't want this to be up or down, basically. It's at the same level as the camera when the app launches. And the Z position, so we have to go as in minus, so I'm going to do 0, so minus 0.8 to be 80 centimeters in front of me when I launch the app. Cool. Okay, so this one is correctly placed. Now let's do the same with the pyramid. You can see how we messed a little bit the angle as well in the X position. So I'm going to put this back to 0. The X is going to be 0, so the pyramid is going to be right in front of me. The Y position, same. And for minus Z, I'm going to do the same, so 0, so minus 0.8, so 80 centimeters in front of me. For the sphere, same again, so this way we're going to go in the positive axis for the X, so 0.5, and then 0, and 0.8, don't forget minus. Excellent. Okay, cool. So now when we launch the app, we should have our 3 shapes in front of us. But they are still white, so what I can do is to go into the materials inspector like this and change the diffuse to whatever color I want for each shape. So if I select the pyramid now, I can make it blue, diffuse, blue, and then and then the sphere, so if I select either here or here, I change that diffuse to be some kind of red, like that. Cool, so let's launch this app and see what it looks like now. Okay, so the app has launched. If I look on the left, I have my yellow cube, and on the right is the reddish magenta sphere. Now, that doesn't look like a sphere really, because there are no shades, no lights, no shadows. Same for this. It looks okay, but we can do much better. So let's add some light, which will make some shadows appear on the shapes. So in order to do this is actually very simple. What we need to do is to select a light. So if you look for anything yellow in here, we have different kinds of lights. I'm going to go into every single light in depth later, but for now, all we need to know is, or all you need to know, is that we are going to add a directional light like this. So you can see how straight away this affects the color of our shapes. So the direction of the lights is going to be this axis here that we can't select. But what we can do is we can move the angle. So if I drag this down, you can see how it modifies here the light that is falling down now on the shapes, and that gives us a much better 3D effect. However, it's very dark if you look from this angle. So what I can do is add another light, which is going to be an ambient light. And for both of these, it actually doesn't matter at all where you put them in the scene. The ambient light is everywhere anyway. And this one is a direction. It doesn't matter where you put this. So for example, just to prove that, if I drag this light under the shape, you can see that the light still shines from above, because it really is just about what direction the light is shining in. Okay, so I'm just going to put this back up so it looks, in my mind, a little bit more logical. And then for this ambient light, so it's better. You can see how it's not completely dark now, but it's still a bit dark. So what we can do is select this ambient light, and if we go to inspect it, we can see that its color is actually quite dark. So let's put this about 1/3 in, and you can see how this looks a lot better already. Cool. Okay, so let's just run this quickly. Now, as you can see, we have better shading. So that sphere now really looks like a sphere. And if I look around, I can see under, behind. Same for this. Over, under. Yeah. Well done on making your first AR application. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to do the exact same, but everything in code this time.